Morning, John. Morning, everyone.
Morning. Oh, there we are. So I'm in two things to keep me warm. You're in a t-shirt.
Yeah. I mean, office has a heater. Yeah, we're back to the fun camera, multi-camera angle stuff. Here's yours. There's mine.
Okay. Oh.
So I'm gonna have to get back to running this thing.
So, hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy? Is that what we're talking about?
Hypocrisy. I wonder if that's close to hip pocket.
Hip pocket?
Hip pocket. No, it's not.
Nah, not even close.
I thought maybe it was a long word for something in my hip pocket.
No. One's HIP and the other one's HYP.
Did you get any stuff going on YouTube? Or you didn't get a chance to do it?
What do you mean? I mean, it posts to YouTube.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Usually when they say you're on YouTube, it's not good. It's some stupid flaw you did, and now they got proof it's...
YouTube? What?
Yeah, like Steve Harvey says, if you did a stupid answer, he goes, "That's going to be on YouTube, buddy."
Oh. Well, I believe it. Yeah, we're on YouTube. We've been on there.
I think the Lord, if he's speaking to me on one thing, it's hypocrisy in leadership.
Okay.
I was shocked to find there are 12 major leaders in Christianity in America that have fallen by the wayside, or fallen in their faith, or fallen in financially, or screwing around with someone or something. And it's like, and they're all of them are mega churches. Mm. And I said, that's an interesting analogy or reality, that these mega churches are complaining about their people because of hypocrisy of some type nature.
I mean, I'm not surprised by that. I mean, the general world out there sees megachurches with some extreme skepticism, especially the people who run them in particular.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I don't have much of a comment one way or the other. I try to, like, we'll call it like psychoanalyze these kind of things. Like, who's the kind of person that would go to a megachurch? Who's the kind of person that would run a megachurch? All that kind of stuff.
I think some individuals were really followed after because of their charisma and their ability and talent or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it turned into something else.
When we were doing, when I was doing some research for Manafeed, particularly on the marketing side, I would go and visit. We had this giant marketing list that we put together, and I was going and validating my scraping tool, and I would go to some of these places that it was like pulling contact information to just make sure that the tool was working. And definitely a bunch of them were like mega churches in Atlanta. It was kind of interesting. And I was looking at like the people's profile, like who actually ran those kinds of churches, and they looked very, we'll say, business savvy to me. It was very clear.
I noticed also that none of them do podcasts like this and get down and be real and talk like real human beings.
Probably not.
Huh?
Probably not.
I think it's against the law or something that they do that. Like, they'll expose themselves of being real people.
Well, maybe they're not.
So if we could do a show where we could put on airs and think we're really something and expound tremendous pearls of wisdom, I wonder what would happen then.
Well, it's actually kind of interesting. The two podcasts, I think, that attempt to do the pearls of wisdom. I know there's other ones, but I think of, like, obviously the Joe Rogan podcast is one. The what's that one guy's name? I can't remember his name, but the
Potter's House.
Tim. What's his name? I got his book right there. Tim Ferriss is another one. Other than those podcasts, I don't really think that most podcasts are successful that give wisdom. You know what? You know what my exhibit A is? Why would Proverbs exist in the Bible? And why would most Proverbs be trying to encourage people to seek wisdom? I know the answer to that. It's because people don't. They just don't. But they're a lot of people, not all people, but a lot of people are wise in their own eyes. I mean, that's it. Oh, speaking of which, totally random. I came across this thing the other day. I was looking up that quote you say all the time. The was it? I think it's in Joshua. No, it's in Judges when it says, "Oh, everybody was doing right in their own eyes." So I read an interesting take on that, which was like a flip opposite, which was some, I don't know, Jewish scholar or whatever was saying that they were doing that was actually it's misread, and that's actually a good thing, that everything was going very well during that time because everybody was doing right.
That's totally not.
I know, and I'm sitting there thinking like, this is if you took that phrase out and then just read it, you could maybe make that argument. But if you read it in its context of Judges, that's not the whole point of Judges. Was there's all these judges going on, and it's bad. It's really bad, and that's why they want a king, because it's really bad.
Yeah,
that's why they want a king. It's super funny though. There's a whole line of arguments that try to argue that it was actually great during that time. And everybody doing right in their own eyes is actually evidence. Like, that's the good thing.
What Shakira is in their own eyes, that doesn't work. It's not, you got to do right in the sight of the Lord, in his eyes, but in your own eyes, that's a problem.
I don't know how somebody misunderstood that.
I don't know. But we have a life right now in America, in the world, everybody's doing right in their own eyes.
For sure.
And they're not falling up for following any kind of.
Oh, it's funny.
We
live in the same time. Think about that for a second. We live in the same time where everybody's doing right in their own eyes, and there's judges running amok, and there's this clamor for people to like, dude, cut this crap out.
I like what they do now. There's some people politically saying absolute, out and out, definite, can be proven lies about the leader, how he's horrible, he's doing this, he's done, he's over, he's finally did the wrong thing, he finally, it's over, it's done, and everybody's like, what are you talking about? And they're like, we figure if we say this enough, the people will believe it and write him off. And I thought, you do get results with a lot of lies. You get results. But in time, it gets revealed, and then you're not so good.
I've tried to bring that to my kids. The reality that there's one of two situations that happen. Like you said, either it gets revealed, or the second is that it burns you alive forever, forever, because you're the one that holds that secret. And what secret are you holding? You're that you did bad. You get burned up. But I also do believe that because you can see it in kids. Like, they have this they'll have this devious nature that thinks, oh, I'm going to get away with it. And it's like, you're not as clever as you think you are.
Well, we're talking about leadership, and we're trying to get a lot back to leadership kind of stuff, and talking about the big picture and that kind of stuff. And I realized that that's interesting. A lot of leaders are not saying lies, but they're living lies. And what I mean by that is they're living a certain way. Like, I know a pastor that sneaks off and gambles a lot of his money away. He's a gambler. But he goes to, out of town, because nobody ever sees him, out of town casino, and gambles his money away. And, of course, everybody says that's horrible and that's a sin, that's bad, and they're all against that. And it's not so much what he does. If you want to gamble $5,
yeah,
but it's the fact that he covers it up.
Yeah, the covering up part.
And so the cover up is worse than the sin.
I was actually going to say, is gambling even a sin?
Huh?
I don't think gambling's technically even a sin. Covering up it is a sin. Doing things you probably shouldn't be doing that make people upset is like the definition of an inequity, transgression.
Yeah. Well, there are leaders that could confess and say to you and admit that they're screwing up somehow, but they don't. They don't say anything. It's not that they have to go around saying all they're bad, but they just, everybody thinks they're doing one thing and they don't do anything about it. And to me, that's cover up too. Because really, you don't want them to know that for embarrassment, or you might get in trouble for it, or whatever it is. But the cover up becomes way worse. And so that makes them a hypocrite. And I don't know about you or me. I know about me. I don't know about you, but I don't know about anybody else. But if I more feel like a hypocrite most of the time than any other thing. Because if I stub my toe and swear, or if I get angry, throw a bat through the window, or I haven't done those things. But I mean, if
You've never stubbed your
I mean,
toe
I've
and
done
swear.
that before, but I haven't done it lately.
I see.
But
Which one, the bat or the toe?
you shot something. I shot a deer out of season, or something like that.
Yeah.
I feel bad about that. I have a certain kind of feeling about that. I shouldn't have done it. It's on my mind.
Well, yeah, it's outside of your identity.
Yeah, you can't really
That's
shake it
It's
off.
probably one of the most classic things that's the argument for identity, one way or the other, is that it keeps you in a particular set of bounds. And if you do something outside of that, you have to reconcile what is your identity.
And there's a scripture that says confession is good for the soul. And I believe the only way to get rid of that is if I say it, admit it out loud to others,
Yeah.
and that kills it. I shot a deer out of season. I did shoot a deer out of season one time. I think it was a doe, but it wasn't in season. I shot it anyway. So it was spur of the moment, stupid move, mistake, as far as I'm concerned. But I did, and that cleared it up for me inside. It didn't make it right, but confession, there's a certain amount of confession, but you don't hear. When's the last time you heard the pastor get up there and confess
Tim?
some blunders or
Tim?
sin?
Tim?
Huh?
I'd say Tim, probably.
When?
Tim. Like 3 years ago. I mean, he also did a lot of...
But that's 3 years ago. I'm talking about
regular.
regular.
But admittedly also, there was, that was stuck in between a whole bunch of everybody's coming after me.
I mean, the hidden stuff, like, they used to call it the hidden dragons that are inside. And I remember we had a picture in my mother's house of this great big dragon, and he was hiding behind a little figure. And he couldn't hide behind it, but he did. He was hiding behind this little figure of a man that was you. And inside you could see little things written: sin, lust, anger, cussing, all these other stuff were in there. But this guy he was trying to hide a monster, and you can't do it. And I thought it always spoke to us. She put it up on the fridge, I think, and it always spoke to us. What monster are you hiding? What?
You can't hide. I mean, I think there's like some quote out there, like, you can't hide forever. You can't.
No, not forever, but you can for a while.
You can't for
I mean,
a while.
no one knew that preacher with the blessing, what's his name? Anyway, he has a huge congregation, several campuses and everything, and no one knew that he had fallen in sin with this 12-year-old girl when he was 20. For 2 years till she was 14, and no one knew it. He kept it hidden, and he moved on, and it was before he was saved. He never said he was saved or anything, but he kept that in the background, and it's biting him in the butt now.
Yeah.
30 years later, he'd been kicked out of his church,
Yeah.
and I'm saying
That doesn't make sense, but whatever.
And I'm saying, well, first off, he was a sinner then. He's a sinner now, and you're making judgments on him, and it's probably not a good thing, because it's interesting. The Lord blessed him and used him in so many powerful ways.
Yeah.
Because he not because God ignored it, but because He's the kind of God that restores and uses. Yesterday we were talking about how God picks these no goods, low life, scum of the earth people to do stuff, and they'll say, "Well, don't use him, Lord. He's use this guy. He's a smart guy. He's head and shoulders above everybody
I
else."
think judging somebody what they did when they're 20, when they're like 40 or 50, is the stupidest thing I probably have ever heard. It's just dumb. I mean, even that. I mean, I know people get real up in arms about it. I mean, do I want a 20-year-old with a 12-year-old? No, of course not. But the reality being that you do some really stupid stuff. I've done some really stupid stuff in my 20s. Young, low 20s.
In my teens,
Really, let's put it this way. There's actually been so many things, I don't remember most of it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot of it. But I know it's way beyond what
yeah,
this generation's, like, temperature. But that's kind of the problem, though. That's kind of happened. I mean, one thing if, like, something happened about it and then he was, like, stringing along as, like, something hidden, something that's, like, ongoing for long periods of time or whatever. But something like that, I don't know. The just the reality being that people become completely different people. Now, if he was doing the same sort of thing later, okay, well, now we're talking like,
well, yeah.
this is a thing that you clearly haven't fixed.
Yeah, if it's systemic and he's always doing
Systemic, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
that's not good. But anyway, I was thinking about this. I can't shake it. I've been thinking about how confession is good for the soul, the Bible says. And if David, when his sin was revealed to him, he admitted it right then and there. And a statement said that David was a man after God's own heart, and yet he was a sinner. Bathsheba killed her husband. I mean, he didn't go to war when he was supposed to. He was a bad kid in a lot of ways. He did a lot of bad, and yet here God is using him. And we say, and I say it's kind of funny, but you can't do that, God. You can't do that. And he's going, I can't do that. It's like, really? You telling me? I pulled up to a guy over there where Brooks lives, and I was going down the road, and the guy was coming out of the road with his 4x4. No license on it, just driving around. So, and I pulled up next to him. Oh, no, it was down here on this road down here. It was this road down here. So I pulled up next to him as I was coming out of the driveway up there, and I said, hey. And, he's probably my age or so. And he's in this thing, and I said, hey, you can't do that. And he goes, do what? And I go, I don't know. He laughed, and I laughed, and we drove off. Like, I'm doing it. You could tell on his face, doing what? I'm actually doing it right now, and you're telling me I can't. People think, well, he could never do that. He can't do that. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Yeah, and yes, you can. You can do things you say you can't do. Well, oh, yes, you can. Oh, yes. I have no faith in man in that way. We have this tendency. I talked to you about the word bent. We're bent toward the wrong, and Christ comes and makes us new, and we can go the other way. It's actually interesting that you can actually say no to something and mean it and walk from it, and it's legit, but we don't think that's legit because we already did that, we already fell, so we can't get away from it or get free because we can't say no, because I just can't say no. It's baloney. Yes, you can.
I mean, maybe another way to view that, and I don't know the circumstances. I was thinking as you were talking just now, that I don't actually know, from what you've described, I pulled the narrative down to like, that big. There may be other things of like, when this was coming out, how did the person respond and all that? Ignoring that any of those kinds of issues. The one of the things I pull away from that is don't be surprised by how much a crowd will turn against someone, regardless. I mean, we talked about this, like, I don't know, a year ago when I had this Bitcoin stuff going on. Mm-hmm. Just me physically seeing the crowd. And since then, I've seen, like, what Facebook land looks like inside this town. And I've told my wife, I'm like, I think I'm going to, like, certainly I should just totally delete my Facebook account. Everybody does that. That's the nature of Facebook. But getting out of all of those groups, because I'm just not interested in any of those groups with any of those people because I can already see like the wild amounts of speculation, and it's never ending. It's not just Bitcoin. It's now moved on to other things that they're pointing the finger all over the place. They never point it at themselves. And it just, I mean, that's what regular people look like. And it's pretty ugly, actually, to be honest.
Pointing a finger at everybody else and not yourselves. It's really true. Although these people that point their fingers at other people have graduated from the University of Facebook Upper Studies or something. They think and I'm like,
there's certain people there that I think they have gained a like, it's gone to their head, the kind of like stature that they have in those little groups. And it's like, dude, you're like the giant fish in the most nano of a pond of a glass of water.
yeah, right.
It's ridiculous. Like the most recent thing is about people's power bills. It's obnoxious. It's really simple. How much power did you use and what is the cost? So it's calculated. How about you take some ownership to determine independently how much power you've actually used? Yeah. There's no accountability for this, and they demand accountability for other people. And I'm kind of thankful that other people will hop in on this. And, this is just a tiny anecdote to the bigger point I'm trying to make. But people would hop in and be like, my power bill has been the same for 3 years. I don't know what's going on with yours, but I think there's a guy going, my power bill's $700. What are you doing? Running on a heat pump, trying to heat your house at 80 degrees in the middle of winter? It's silly. And the whole point of this is like, I think about this a lot, John. I'll tell you, because I get what's the term? I guess you could say disheartened. Because I look at people, and there's often times I'm just like, you know what? I just want to put this pack down and let people get destroyed. That's how my feelings like actually are. Because and some people like in our group, they now know this about me, that it's like maybe not to the extent my wife knows this, that the wrath of irrationals, you don't want that, because it will turn into utter hatred. That I will gain the joy in seeing everyone burn. And the reason is because of the kind of stuff that we're talking about. That it's like that nature. This is how I know that the Bible, it's not just a thing to be taken with any level of trifleness. Now I don't ascribe to how people put the Bible in this weird thing. These are books, and some of them, call them divine. People take divinely inspired and say, it's the word of God. Like, it's God telling you to do that. It's like, that is not, you're so lazy in your reading that you can't actually pull out of this book what you need to pull out of it. But it's not to be trifled with, because the things that are in there are eternal. These are eternal human activity. And why does transgression brought up a million? Dude, there's like 20 different words for the word transgression in Hebrew. I learned them all. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. And, inequity and all this kind of stuff, and it's brought up all the time. Well, that's the origin of all these things. Well, what is the origin of that? Sin. The sinful nature of man. And, sometimes I'd say like my dark side, that when I start seeing a lot of sinful people, I'm like, I can't wait for them to drop a fucking bomb on this place and just blow everybody away, because that's what they deserve. Well, that's a non-grace statement, but
yeah, you're talking out of your feelings and your
correct,
and I agree with that. And your
correct.
Opinions, I understand that.
Yeah,
because I think if we are all real and honest, we feel that way a lot of times anyway, because we're sick of the nonsense and we're sick of the But
and I say that from like a leadership standpoint, because these are like the people that I'm supposed to be bringing along, and I look at them like, stubborn mule. All right, you just hang back and get shot. That's what'll happen, because we're moving this way. If you want to just hang back there, you want to be like a stubborn mule, then that's what's going to happen to you. It's just one of those kind of breaking points in a leadership perspective, and that's very specifically what I'm talking about here. Not necessarily my personal view, but when you're trying to like move people and these ridiculous behaviors that they have start to crop up, and they just like overcome things. So that's kind of what it feels like. That's where I start to say this, where it's like, you know what? Why don't I just drop? Because I think about again. I'm never going to be I'm never going to be confused. Again, I'm talking about back to your original topic of these pastors falling or whatever. I'm never going to be confused that group is going to be independent of a leader. I'm never going to be confused of that fact. People are confused of that fact because they think like, oh well, it's here, it's an organization. We can just take the charismatic person who built this thing away and everything will be fine. Yeah, right. That's not at all how this works. And so their willingness to cast aside the building function, the thing that like made the thing, for whatever reason that they have, I just don't care.
Well, you're in a place where you're commenting on that, but I'm thinking also that someone's watching. I want to, on the topic of leadership, want to encourage leaders to just be real. They can be themselves.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And still be a leader. They can be honest about their passions and lusts and angers and trifling and disrespects. I mean, we all have some of that baggage somewhere, but we can be honest about it without losing our place in leadership. Leaders
Do you think so?
Yeah, leaders are threatened by past mistakes, and people say, "Hey, you made a mistake, so you can't be a leader." And I'm saying, I wasn't chosen by you. You didn't call me up in the orchard on Trimble Road with my grandfather's farm and say, "Hey, John, I'm calling you into ministry." You didn't call me. You didn't say you didn't. But in God's calling, there is a stamp of approval as far as to be a leader. It's not approving everything you've done or everything you're going to do. We mix that up.
Point.
We think approval is approving everything about you and everything you do. No, that's not the approval I'm talking about. If God says, "I want you to be a leader to do," I mean, Moses killed an Egyptian. God called Moses to be the leader, and he was a bad boy and a farce for a long time. So we can't say, "God, you can't do that." That's what I'm talking about.
So I'm kind of curious because I see what you're saying, but let me bring up some counterexamples. What about like I feel like almost every single well-known person in the last 30 years that like kind of rose to like some particular point of fame, they were not regular people, John. They didn't even act regular. They never, as far as I can tell, at least in any public capture, acted like a regular person. Never.
They were never normal human beings?
No, and they sure as heck aren't doing what you're describing right now.
Name one.
Yeah, I'll start naming them. Elon Musk, good example.
Definitely a normal human being.
I would definitely say no.
He's got I don't know how many, 17 kids and
yeah, I know.
4 wives.
He never talks about it, ever. Never apologizes for it either.
No, he won't apologize. He has no spirit of conviction, but he might.
Well, here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm suggesting, right?
He's far from perfect.
I'm not saying that this is the case. I'm just trying to poke. You gotta understand, I come from like a science background, and the exceptions to the thing are interesting, especially when they're all the well-known ones. The Bill Clintons out there, because like Bill Clinton can be a normal human being now, but when he was like a president, not a normal human being, just not.
In what way?
He was not honest about anything about his personality to anyone. I'm just thinking about like, how are you leading people? I think of Steve Jobs, most perfect example. That dude has skeletons in his closet, never would talk about, would never even admit. For like 10, 20
plus years. So what's your point? He's normal or not?
No, no, I'm saying that these people do not do what you're saying. They do not act, they will not be humble, nor will they act like a normal human being.
I agree they won't. But
there's something there, and what I'm kind of probing is it appears to be, in order to reach these lofty heights, you can't do what you're saying. It's kind of opposite to what.
That's a very good point, because, and I said this.
That's what I'm just bringing. I don't know.
I
if
agree,
it's true.
but I said this earlier. That's why if God calls you, and I don't think He's looking for perfect human beings.
But clearly not.
Clearly not. He's picking these complete failures and rejection.
Yeah, no kidding. George Bush, perfect example.
and so we have to differentiate between see, this is the trouble with church today too. You have a fallen leader, and we judge him and kick him out to the curb, and you're no good. And I'm saying, time out here. First, you were worshiping, he's a great guy, he's the best leader in the world. You find out one flaw, and you're going to kick him to the curb and forget about him and destroy his family and destroy his life because you are some kind of judge because he has a flaw. I'm saying I'm sorry, but I'm not buying. I know a pastor that fell a few times with this woman, and the family and the church caught up to it, and they kicked him out. When they kicked him out, I called him up and I said, listen, I want you to know something. I understand what's going to happen with the church, and you're going to get kicked out, and you're going to do this, but you're not kicked out as far as I'm concerned. And don't anybody tell you that you're no longer used by God or that you're no longer important. You are, and that's all there is to it. I don't care what happens to you. I don't care what they say. I know that I know you admit that you fell with this girl, and then you cut it off, and now you're back with your wife. I get all that, but I don't judge you and say you're on the outside looking in now, buddy. You can't be the leader or the pastor of a church or anything. I'm telling you can. Probably make a better one than you did before. Look at David. Look at Moses. Look at all these people in the Bible. They were regular human beings that God decided to touch and call, and that's the difference. God makes the decision, and you can't do anything about that. And that's what makes people angry.
But then why? So, okay, I got two things. The last thing you said there has changed what I'm going to lead with here. Okay, if that's true, then why do you think that you should be able to say to him that you can do that? That's for God to decide, not you, right?
That I can say what?
That he can lead. You know,
because he can use you.
Yeah. Well, no.
Oh, that he can lead.
Yeah, because you're saying, well, maybe he's going to be better. But isn't that up to God to determine?
Well, yeah, but I don't even have to have God in the whole thing. I'm going to ask you a question, okay?
Yeah.
Was he leading before they found out about his flaw?
Of course he was.
Was that flaw there anyway?
Of course it was.
I rest my case.
I know. But there's 2 points. They're distinctly different. The original one, which goes more to this thing, I just wanted to make that small jab because you said, well, God can use you, and it's like, well, then why are you even bother telling him that? Do you need to tell him that? Are you basically? Anyways, I'll move off that. But the bigger point I actually wanted to make was thinking about it, like, well, why would you even say that? Because other people aren't saying that. I know the answer to this, or like some semblance of the answer.
I'm saying it because I'm going Bible wise. As far as Bible goes,
I mean, I'm not saying that that's not true, but there's another thing. The other thing is that you're stooped in understanding leadership. You already understand what this.
You see, I don't agree that you have to be a certain perfect person to be in leadership.
Yeah, I'm not agreeing with that. I'm actually saying it's pretty dirty, to be perfectly honest.
Leaders are, even Paul had to tell his people, look, you got to be a husband of one wife. You can't have 7 wives and be a bishop. But I'm saying that's about being a bishop. That's about being a leader of other pastors. That's kind of holding up a certain line that's good. I'm all for that. I'm all for it. In fact, I know people that have held up the good integrity, and they've kept that integrity for years, and that's good. That's not a bad thing. But if you're going to tell me if that guy falls, you're going to kick him to the curb, I'm not buying that. It was there in the beginning. It was there all the time. He was a great leader. And now you're going to tell me he's not a great leader because he has this flaw? I'm not buying that. I know that he has a flaw, but for you to tell me that he's not a leader anymore, I'm not buying that. I mean,
well, I guess to some extent he's not if the people no longer allow themselves to be led by him. By like a kind of a technical definition.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's not saying that he doesn't.
It's kind of like being judged by the public and by the media. We're judged by that, so we have to go that way. I get that. People.
Yeah,
look, we're in a church. We're in churches where people want a say, and if the pastor goes off to do something, and hey, we don't like that. We want the rug to be blue, and you want red. We don't like. We're going to leave you because you want blue. I'm like, did I miss something? You are now judging him according to the people.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not going to buy that.
Yeah, but that's actually kind of my point. Because if you were a normal person, John, you would. And now everybody's gonna say, well, no, I'm not gonna judge
That's
because what
correct.
other people say, but they do.
They would.
They do all the time. But I know that you wouldn't do it. And
based on the fact that we all have baggage. We all have
of course we do.
flaws. We all have, and so I hear what you're saying.
I
but
think the
judge by public opinion is going to happen,
of course it's going to.
and I'm gonna be part of those judges.
That's the actual name. That's the actual. Here's the reality though. That's the actual name of the game, though, because what these people are doing is they're getting out proverbially just in a mechanical way. They're getting out in front of a crowd. They're moving the crowd to some extent, whether that's 2 people or 2,000 people. They're going to be judged by people. And then there's going to be other entities that see that happening because they don't have 2,000 people following them. They're going to see that, and they're going to judge them one way or the other.
I think one of the reasons why I said this, what I said, is this. A leader gets caught in a flaw. And then the public opinion rises up, kicks him out of church. Okay, I get that's going to happen. It's too bad because we don't have that spirit of grace and mercy like God does, but and we need to, but only God really has that grace and mercy that we really need to have. But I take that as I understand that he's kicked out. But here's the problem I feel is that the leader is condemned in himself, and so he decides to say, I'm no good. I'm no good anymore. I'm not good enough. And I'm saying to him, no, that you are making a judgment just like them, saying you're no good.
You're right.
When you were doing that before. You know, Jimmy Swaggart was almost going to win 1 billion people to the Lord. When he was going hot, he was one of the evangelists, way over Billy Graham and way over different 100 and some countries. Jimmy Swaggart was way over there. Then he got caught. He was with this hooker in some hotel somewhere, you know, and he got caught about it and everything. And I laugh because I'm not laughing, but I'm saying like, rah, Siskumbah, Jimmy Swaggart, all this time he's with a hooker. We're okay with that because nobody knows. Then he finally confesses to it. And you know what the big beef of a lot of churches was? Not that he fell, because they didn't want to be the first to cast the first stone because they had a couple people on the side themselves. They were upset that he didn't submit himself to any church. He would not submit himself to AG. He would not submit himself to anybody.
What do you mean? What do you mean by submit?
He just was a loner, and he's on his own, and he always was on his own.
Oh, I see.
He's a loner. He's on his own. You need to come under this leadership and this. You need to come under this and come under that. And he went, no, I wasn't under it before. I'm not going to come under it now.
Yeah.
So Jimmy, and then he went on for himself in Baton Rouge. Later on, his son rose up, and his son took over and is doing really good. And then slowly, Jimmy came back.
So I don't know these people. Who you're saying he's like independent? What does that mean?
I mean, I'm ordained with the Elam Fellowship. I'm under their auspices, so to speak.
Oh, okay. I see what you're talking about. You're talking about that there's some big organization.
And they want them to be a part of it.
Kind of like the Catholic Church kind of thing, like a pope or somebody.
Yeah.
I know it's not.
It's got some basic.
There's some hierarchy, and then they go down and go, we don't like what you're preaching. Okay, I'll change because it's not within. I see what you're saying. That's what you're talking about.
He refused to come under that. That was their biggest beef.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff I know nothing about.
Yeah, well, I do because I'm saying...
And I know that I could never do that. This is one of the things I know about. This is how I look at myself as like a leader. Like how I visualize it, and this may not going to make any sense to you, but maybe you can maybe you can put on your imagination hat. Have you ever played like Dungeons and Dragons or any kind of game like this?
Oh, Risk.
No, Risk is not even close, but that's okay. So there's a lot of what's really interesting about Dungeons and Dragons. There's a bunch of video games that use the mechanics.
Yeah, I played one called this guy is going through by himself caves and dark areas and doing different things to be different. I can't remember the name of my son got into it and I got into it to check it out.
Baldur's Gate?
Huh?
What year is this?
Back 70s. Back 80s.
Eye of the Beholder?
That rings a bell.
Is it first person?
It was first person.
That may be Eye of the Beholder, which, by the way, is a Dungeons and Dragons game. But
yeah, I think it was connected. Anyway, I understand.
Not really the best example, but yeah. So, anyways, there's like games out there, and there's like these mechanisms, right? And so, one of the really cool things that is like totally unsaid about it is it's kind of like a personality simulator of sorts, because you bring yourself there, and unless you're intentional, like I'm going to pretend that I'm a evil guy, you know, and then you make the evil choices, or I'm going to pretend that I work like this. And it's actually really hard, to be perfectly honest, to do that. Your natural instinct is, I'm just going to be me in the game. Now, what's really interesting is they have all these different choices of the ways you can go based on who you are, and they have you figured out. So they'll have like 6 choices. You're going to talk to a person, you run into them, they say some stuff, you have 6 choices. Each one of those is radically different, and they're based on these different temperaments. And so, like, you're going to choose. So my dad is like lawful good. So he's always going to be like knight in shiny armor. Like, he wants to be a paladin.
Yeah.
And whereas like other choices, they're like, you know, laugh at them and, you know, steal their bread or something. But I mention this because the kind of leader that I am is there's normally like, there's been a couple games I played this where I don't know if it's a main character or what, but the character will kind of come along. They'll go into a, you know, like a bar. And then they're like, oh, I've got this problem and I'm trying to find somebody to help. Or, you know, I need somebody to help me. And then there's a guy who has a lute on his back and he's listens to the sob story and immediately goes, you're screwed. You're not going to make it. No, I'm not going to help you. There's no way I'm going to get involved in this. And then somehow, due to the events, he joins their party. I'm that person. Because what that person is, they're like a traveling person, and they're always a bard. That's the big thing. I play music. They're a bard. They're a bard.
Yeah.
They play music and they encourage people or whatever, but they don't have the main, they're not a knight, they're not a mage, they're not those certain kinds of skills. They're kind of a general character, and what the main thing they do is they bark out, they play music and go, you're super strong now. But the main thing that they do, and so when you look at like their personality, this is how I know these guys are crazy, because they got it all figured out. I am totally that character. They'll go around and they're very snarky. That's the main thing about them, is that they're snark. But they actually eventually, throughout the process, they become really attached to those people. But it is not uncommon also that character, the whole team will get wiped out and then they're like back at the bar. The reason you look at the backstory of the bar, the reason why they're at the bar isolated by themselves is because they failed and they lost everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of like that. I understand what you're saying, but a leader like that gets disgusted with people who won't put in the quality they put in. If I put this,
you totally nailed it.
Yeah,
you're right.
I put this quality in, and you won't put it in, and I'm disgusted with you. The problem with that leader is
there's a lot of them. There's a lot of problems with that leader.
Yeah, well, one of the biggest problems I see is he loses his excitement and initiative to bother.
Yes.
Because he's saying, if they're not going to put it in, the heck with it. I put it all in, and I wasted all my time to put it in, and they won't either, so I'm out. The problem with that is this is the question I asked that leader. You started this and got a group going with you, and now you get disgusted with them, and you're going to dump them. That's the problem I have with it. I don't care if you're doing good or putting the good in anymore, or that they're putting the good in.
Yeah.
The problem is you quitting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've been tempted to do. If you quit, it says more about you than it does about the people.
Well, of course it does.
And so you have to wake up and slap yourself.
Well, there's other elements to it. I mean, sometimes in the case of that particular bard, they failed. They just like outright failed, which, by the way, happens.
You fail, you might
and then
fail.
they take it super personal, and then they're like, oh, I'm not going to get in this. I'm not going to join this journey anymore.
Well,
but then all of a sudden, the nature of that person, though, they still have this glimmer. Their main thing is not good, as in like their primary driving force isn't that, but they still have it. And then something happens where they're like, well, I guess I'm going to listen to that. I'm going to help you. I have no choice in this matter. And then they get kind of bought back up into it. And oftentimes they end up being, they often are the actual hero in the story. Because
they get discouraged to a point that they let go of that thing that they got rolling off in the beginning. They let go of it and say, whatever. And they become what I call, they're not void of anything good. They still have good, but they kind of get paled out. They kind of get not as colorful. They don't really care anymore.
Not as colorful.
And it's
really...
not care because they're discouraged inside.
Yeah. I think you've hit it on the head. It's funny. I didn't mention really any of that, but I think you're 100% correct.
Yeah, I've seen it.
You know exactly what that character is. Yeah.
I've been there. I mean, I've been leaders of churches raising guys up to be great guys and everything, and yet they finally let it go. One guy's fallen away, and I'm like, man, I did all this work, and I thought I was on the right path, and you know, it's like Elijah said, you know, God, I'm the only one that was serving you, and I was the only one that was doing good, and I'm out there being the only prophet. And God had to go, Elijah, I have 7,000 guys like you. So stop your nonsense. But we take this personally, and we get discouraged, and we quit. And then we start reacting. Now listen to this word, not responding to God, but we start reacting to the situation.
Isn't that true?
When you react to the situation and you go down and you get discouraged and you lose heart, that reaction is getting you, not to respond. He's still happy for you to respond to him. He's still happy for you to respond and say thank God and talk to him. But you let that reaction. There's another scripture in Ezekiel that says, "Don't let their fire be your fire." Don't. Yeah. If you're going to be like you, if you're going to be like them, you miss the point. And that's what I'm talking. It's a really true problem for leaders.
You know, John, and the thing that really inspired me from there, like right there at the end, that's why you have to lead by example. That crap's hard. Because the first thing is
you but I don't like that.
I
don't like that. I don't want to do it.
You cannot be like them. And that was always the point. And that was always the case. It was always the case. Even in the case that I was describing with the bard, they're coming to you because you could do something about it. And it was, by the way, it was never about you. It was never for you. I mean, you could build the for you into it, but that's not the origin of this.
Well,
so like Moses,
I get it.
But Moses and them, it ain't for you. You are already free. You are already gone. You already had what arguably would be a great country life. That ain't for you. But as to your point, you made it personal. There's a lot of truth to that.
I speak to that leader discouraged. I speak to that leader who's broken down and disgusted with people. I speak to that leader that is just kind of paled out and washed out because he's sick of the crap that he sees and what they're doing. And I say to him exactly what you're saying. It wasn't about you.
It wasn't about you.
I know it's nice. I know it's nice when you're doing well and people are following you. Yay, rah, rah, Cisco Mama, Mike, John, they're great, great, great. And then when they decide not to do that anymore and they lose heart and you go, what? You're losing heart? You idiots, I'm done with you. You just went too far. There's where you missed the point.
Yeah.
There's where you got to say, wait a minute, this wasn't about me anyway. This was about accomplishing a dream or accomplishing a purpose. And we have to stay true to that purpose. That's hard. That's really hard because I got people behind me snarking and everything else against me. They even go against me. They don't not only put the good in anymore, they go against me. And you're no good. You're no good. And I'm going, you guys are missing the point. But I must stay true to myself. I'm not going to quit because of you. Because it wasn't about you in the beginning, and it wasn't about me in the beginning. It was about getting this purpose done.
Yeah, that's the tricky part of all this is the freaking people. It's the people component to it. I mean, I see this all the time. I can't look back in the mirror. I don't have recordings of me in and about outside of an intentional recording or something. So I can't really look at it. But I definitely have noticed over the last 6 years of my life, this kind of different kind of growing up component of how many people they just want to talk about the technicals, and it's starting to drive me crazy. There's different domains of talking and thinking about, you're in a group, you're trying to solve a problem. And one of what is I call it the business or mission talk. So it's we just want to talk about the thing that we're doing. And if we just keep talking about the thing that we're doing, then we'll be successful. And it's that person is ruining the entire process. That person, that named person right there. We have a process. It works like this. We never talk about that process. We should talk about that process, and that person is ruining it. And no one talks about this. It's I'm the only person who talks about it. I don't remember talking about or thinking this way in the past, but I may have and didn't know it. But I see that a lot because everybody, even like managers who are like over people, all they want to do is talk about the thing. So it'd be like, for example, you have a church and the church is like what you're going to talk about on Sunday. And you're just going to talk about all those great things that like, oh, we got the toy drive coming up. Is everybody, do we have the thing, this, that? And it's like, there's an elephant in the room and it's never talked about it. And it ruins all the things. Never brought up. Somebody brings it up, they just move on and like, I'm just gonna pretend like you didn't say that, and we're back to talking about that. It's like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, you're making me think about a few things because I've been through this, and then I have to pick myself back up and say, wait a minute, I gotta stay true to myself and keep after the purpose. Even just because I feel like, if someone really listens to this that's a leader, I think they would get encouraged to realize, not only do we realize that you can lead up to a point and then the people are no longer really following you, some fall away, and you lose heart with them, and then you say, the heck with it. And I'm saying to you, you can't say the heck with it.
Yeah.
It wasn't about you. I mean, it was about you in your own mind, but you need to say, what am I called to do?
What am I called to do?
What is God asking me to do? Is he asking me to do this? Is he asking me to do that? And you have to stay true to what he's asking you to do. Even if it's zero, even if I do this whole thing with this broadcast and it gets nowhere, touches nobody, I say to myself, but I was true to myself. I knew some things. I shared these things, and some people got a hold of it, and it helped them keep going. If not, then it is a waste of time, as far as I'm concerned. But still, the word is to the leaders that have lost heart. You can lose heart, but you can't quit. Quitting is a whole other. I met some people that have quit. They're the darkest, saddest individuals I've ever met. They're dark, they're sad, and they're bitchy, and they're pointing a finger. And I'm saying, what did you just turn? You turned into the people you complained about. And you can't do that. I mean, you can do that, but good luck, because it leads to nowhere. You don't get anything done that you wanted to get done. So, I don't like it. I have to tell you, I not only don't like it, I hate it, that these things that I went through. And to see these things and these people quit and quit on me and quit on the purpose. Those people have been, I can have a fantastic church if I have no people in it. It's like the guy that was living on a deserted island, and he built a house in the trees, and over here he built a building for his church. And they came in and said, wow, look at those are fantastic. Well, what is that other building way over there? And he's the only one on the island, and he says to the people that came to his island, he goes, oh, that's a church I used to go to. He's the only one on the island. So sooner or later, you got to be careful that you don't lose heart and disconnect from God or disconnect from people. You can't do that. You can, but you're going to pay for that even more dearly.
Yeah, that's actually interesting.
You're going to pay.
I just think about it because I feel like we'll say in the meatiness of all this, right smack in the middle of this stuff all the time. And I look at it and it's like, well, I could totally see how it happens, because the further you go, the more problems there are. And, you can get surrounded by all those problems. You look at like, well, if I was back to myself or whatever, I could go in like that particular direction. These things are baggage. That's kind of the mind behind it. It's like, well, this is kind of, it's like when you're looking out for yourself. That's ultimately what it ends up being. I'm now going to be the locus of what's going on versus the thing that's happening or whatever.
Well, if you get to that point where you choose to go your own way and go your own purposes and go it alone, if you decide to do that, I say it's scary. It's scary for the leader to do that. I say, you might want to think about this a little bit more deeply, talk to other people, because like if I go to you and I say, did you do this? Yes. Did it fail? Yes. What about it? What did you learn from that? What's the deal? I learned I'm not going to go that way. That's what you learned? Yeah, I learned I can't go that way. Well, maybe there's something else to learn. Maybe, just maybe, you became a greater leader. Because, see, when we point back to these people and we say,
yeah, I'm with
you
you.
know,
On that.
George Washington should have quit. I just watched the whole Revolutionary War thing. He should have quit. In the winter, he should have quit 17 times.
Yeah.
Many places he never should have kept going. But he refused to quit. And actually, that's why they won the war, because George Washington refused to quit. And he was actually really defeated. His guys were a year with no pay, no food, frozen, all kinds of problems. But he refused to quit. And we point back to him, and I'll tell you right now, he even wrote some stuff that said, it's not worth it. These people aren't worth it. Nobody really cares about this nation. I mean, he had all kinds of problems. He had mutinies. He had mutiny after mutiny after mutiny. A lot of people don't write about that. But George Washington was mutinied over and over and over, and the guy said, screw you, George, and they took off and went home. And yet, we look back at George Washington, father of the nations, who wouldn't quit, because sooner or later, the credit fell on George Washington. Sooner or later. Maybe never. In some cases, maybe never, but in that case, while I was watching, I was going, man, this George Washington should have quit a long time ago. I mean, he wasn't even significant. He got up down in the Carolinas and stuff, and he got bogged down here and bogged down there. He should have said, I quit, and go back home to wherever his place was. But he refused to quit. And that, to me, is very challenging, because I have quit inside. Many times I've quit inside. And then I felt, I can't really quit. I got to keep going.
Well, to your point, if you don't, you're building strength and stamina the entire time.
Yeah.
It's a really good point. Now, again, when you're in the proverbial trenches, I mean that's one hell of a battle. It really is. It's a really good
It's
point.
the worst battle for a leader, because wait a minute, am I a leader or not? Am I called to be a leader now? Wait a minute, I know this is true and I know that's true, and I'm challenged on every point, and you just want to quit. I mean, I want to quit.
I have this sensation right now in this new job that I took.
Yeah, I
Just like massive frustration. It's funny though, because oh my gosh, John, what you're talking about in this topic is actually, it's so big. It's so big. I have so much experience with this, not just like me personally, but other people who have come to me. Just swore. There's so many. Like I think about like my dad, right? So he's a fun guy. I love to make fun of. Just for my own personal reasons, and you know, I should give him more credit than I do.
We'll let you get away with that.
But he one of his things, he moved to, and this is almost a little bit less about him. I normally feel very good about him about this, but he ended up leaving Virginia to move to Arkansas to take a director position at a VA medical center, and so he had this like. He always does. He always has these moments of. You want to do that?
Yeah, I want to see you talking with both of us. Go ahead.
What do you mean? Oh, with both of us.
Yeah.
You want to look at you poking yourself in the eye?
Yeah, because with both of us in this, he quit and went to Arkansas.
So he went to Arkansas. Well, he didn't quit. I guess he could. He left the job, went to a different job.
Discouraged?
No. Highly encouraged.
Oh, okay.
To get this job, because it's basically the top of like the government pay rate, and the role was so high that he felt he was like a regional director or whatever of VA medical center. It actually may have been multiple. So anyways, of doing like IT director. So he goes there and he's like, I can finally make change because I'm moving up this chain. Because the thinking is the lower on the totem pole, the less change that you can make. And the higher up you are, the more that you can make real change. So he goes up and he goes there, and I think he quit that job within 6 months. And I've never seen him quit any job ever, let alone, it's one thing to like, okay, I'm moving on to like another
job. That really
job.
knocked him down, though.
He not only did he quit without even another job in lined up. I've never seen that man make a decision like that. I actually felt really good about him for making it, because it was just really like a steadfast. But the reason is it was the organization was so corrupt and so unserving of the people that they're designed to serve, and he couldn't do anything about it. He actually felt less power there in that position than in any other role. The reality is each one of those people are disempowered, and it aggregates all the way up the chain. And so you want to be the least empowered and most disempowered, be in that role. It was wicked. So the reality being is that people have all these opinions, especially from the outside looking in, and they may be justified in what they're doing, but it's like when you actually get in and see how that sausage is made, it is ugly.
So I'm going to kind of jump out of this, but make a comment about all of this that we're talking and say this.
Yeah.
What if, Mike, when God called you into this place, whatever it is, I mean, everybody's got a different different calling. What if God being who he is, and we can't understand him fully, but what if he was after something that you never dreamed about, you never thought about?
Oh, I'm totally I totally agree.
And he was after something.
You can't see it.
Let's put him, like you could go into the first person and God saying, well, son, speaking to Jesus, Holy Spirit, let's put him through this hell. Let's put him through this mill. Let's see he's made of, and if the gold inside him really comes out. Because somehow, somewhere, I've talked to God about this over and over. What is it that you're really after? I mean, you've let me be a part of this discouragement. And, of course, back then I was talking the divorce. You let me go through divorce. You let me go through all these things. What are you after? And now I'm in this situation, and I'm still wondering, what are you after? And he may have been after all this time. I mean, it's not like he took it by, oh, gee, John's divorced. Oh, gee, John's moved to Tennessee. Oh, gee. I mean, we're not taking God by surprise. Okay, he knows what's going on. And he's not surprised. He's just going, yes.
And if I may add, he's the king and the only person, to say the word person.
That's right.
Where ends can justify the means. Normal human beings try to do ends justify the means, and they fail every single time.
So I say, there's nobody up there saying to God, only man is saying to God and saying the thing I said earlier. You can't do that. And the guy says to me, what? And I go, I don't know, just kidding. And he laughs, and I laugh, and I drive away. He can do it. We just think he can't do it. You can't. If you did that to John, it's like the devil said, oh, yeah? Job, he's great, huh? Oh, sure. Well, take away his kids and a couple other things. He'll curse you to his face. And God said, okay, do what you want to. Just don't kill him. And everything happened to Job like you can't believe. Took his 10 kids, his wife cursed him. His friends came and accused him of everything. Job had boils all over him. I mean, he had every problem. And Job said, though he kills me, I will trust him.
Job is definitely one of the best books in the Bible. And by the way, if it wasn't in the Bible, people would consider that book heresy. And the reason,
definitely.
And the reason being is like, God wouldn't allow the devil to just hurt people. Well, I don't know if he would or wouldn't. I'm not getting into that debate, but it definitely happened to Job.
Yes, he would, because he sent a lying spirit to convince Ahab to go to battle. And that was God that did it, because it says right there in 1 Kings 23, he sent a lying spirit to go deceive Ahab. And we go, oh, no, that can't be right. You can't do that.
Well, it's funny because my wife has actually been commenting to me about your posts on Facebook, because I guess she's starting to get them now or whatever, and she's just like, I should talk to John about this. It's like one or two of the things that you said.
I wish she would. I want to talk about it.
Yeah, and we can go talk about it after. It's something along these lines here, because obviously you've been talking about this for the last week or so about saying whether or not God, you made a post, something about...
Rapture?
No, it was about like allowing evil things or bad things or something like that. I can't remember what the detail was, but it's along these lines.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that, because I'm telling you, there's nobody thinking
No,
This
John, they're
guy,
not.
this one guy attacked me. Who are you? Who do you think you are? Did you graduate from the University of Facebook Biblical Studies? That's what he asked me. I said, "What do you think you? Who do you think you are?" He says, "You can't know those answers." I go, "You know something? They're the kind of guy that says God can't do this and He can't do that, and I'm telling you He can because He did it to me." Yeah, I don't know if I ever told you this story, but I'll tell you when we're done. Well, we're almost done, right?
Yeah.
I'll just do it real quick. I got so mad at God. I got in the house. I was just mad about what was going on. And I went to Ginny and I said, I'm going outside and I'm going for a walk and I'm going to have it out with Jesus. That's all there is to it. I'm sick and tired of this. I'm leaving. I'm going to have a talk with him. I'll be right back. And I slam the door and I go out. No, I'm just telling you a true story. I walked out the house where we were there. I walked down the trail that goes up the hill.
Yep.
I got turned on the trail. I said, okay, Jesus. And my heart and my mind got filled with this song by Paul Garlington, Knowing You, Knowing Jesus. Knowing You, there is no greater thrill. I could not get that song out of my mind. No, I don't want to talk about that right now. I want to talk to you, God, about that. Knowing You, Jesus. Knowing You, there is no greater thrill. You're my all. You're the best. You're my joy, my righteousness. I go, no, I don't want to worship and sing that song. I'm in trouble. I'm mad. You cannot flood me with worship right now. I'm busy trying to talk to you, and that song took over. I ended up worshiping God, and I came back with a different countenance and a different attitude. Ginny goes, what happened to you? I go, God attacked me with worship. It's not fair because I didn't want to go out there and do it. I wanted to have it out with him, and he attacked me with such worship, I couldn't stop worshiping, and I actually feel a lot better now. Why? And Ginny goes, oh, no, I'm just wondering. I go, he can't do that. And I said, yes, he can. It's like one time when the Lord developed his love to me. I had all these sins and problems, and he waves and waves of love to me when I was in Bible school. And I was like, you can't do that. Stop that. Stop that. And he spoke to me and said, I'll do whatever I want to. And I went, oh. And I had to work on that for a long time. And so God is saying, look, I'm going to do a lot of things that allow to happen in your life, and you don't have any say over it, but I know what I'm after. I don't know what you're after, my boy, but you're going to learn what you're after. And you're going to end up saying, I'm after what you're after, God.
Yeah.
I'm after what you're after. I'm finally letting go of all these things I'm after. In fact, sometimes on the way over here, I go, what are we after, God? What are we doing today?
How do you know? I'm with you on this. How do you know what they're after?
Well, he's after.
Just go for the ride? That seems to be your approach. Because we went through, if you remember, this argument about whether or not something is tempting or testing or whatever. We had that discussion. What is, and your gist to your argument was you don't know if it's a tempt or a test, and you don't know if you're being tempted to move over here, to move over there, to go over there. So how do you know God's will other than to just be led around blindly?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm saying my answer to that is you don't know. My answer to that is...
Does this just adopt a different attitude?
It's just that now, whatever does come my way, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death,
right.
You're with me. You have to come to that place where whatever hellish thing you're going through, you don't know if it's a test or a tempt. I know that God sits back and goes, let's see how he comes out of that one. How does he come out of this one? Does he come out with praise? Does the gold come out as something as good showing? I know he can do that, but at the same time, if I go through the valley of the shadow of divorce or the shadow of discouragement or the Bible says, thou art with me.
This is, John,
I can't explain that.
The word that comes to mind is the things that are presented in front of you. I'd say they're almost all a test of whether or not you can shepherd them.
You can what?
You can shepherd them. Can you bring these things within your domain and handle them? And in some cases, they may, and some of which may be, how do you shepherd people through failure? Because you as a group got smashed.
You can't quit.
Can't quit.
They have to look at you and say, if I were you, I'd quit. But you don't quit.
Yeah, you can't quit.
I used to get a name. I got a nickname for myself called Steadfast because I would not back off. I kept on going. They called me Steadfast.
How could someone not be humble with all this? Because the reality, I mean, I think about stuff like the Ukrainians right now. I have my own opinion about their struggles, which is just an opinion. It's 2 cents. I'm here. It's warm. You know, it's a good example. Right now, it's snow on the ground. I'm warm. They're not warm. And it's a lot colder over there.
A lot colder.
And, you know, you think of like, well, should they continue on or should they quit? And it's like, I don't know, man. But to that point, I mean, this game's hard. This is a hard game.
This will be Putin's last hurrah.
I would agree with that.
So I say, you know, we got all these ideas and opinions, but down the road we're going to say, yeah, that was really bad, but now this is happening, and that's good. I think that's what's going to happen. So I can't make it.
There will eventually be good. I mean, there is.
It's just her. I say, God, how can you let that happen? Millions of people are dying.
Yeah.
And that's his business.
That's his business.
I'm sorry, you don't get to know that.
No.
You know, I don't get to go to God's cabinet meeting because the only on the cabinet is 3 people: Father, Son, Holy Spirit. That's it. They decide.
You know what I'm like? So, you know, I just like to have fun with these things. I realize that poking, like throwing arrows, it's kind of nice because you get to distance yourself from the problem. You know, you get to look at it and you just get to make fun of it. But at least for a moment, it becomes unpersonal. But I think about if I could only beg God to make the world stop talking about Nazis and Hitler. It's like, dude, this is so done with. It's so over. I was telling Christine, I'm like, you know, kind of measuring some level of like that kind of level of evil. How long does it take until society doesn't even remember it or even think about it anymore? There is a number to that. Is it 150 years? Is it 200 years?
No.
I think we're getting close because
700 or 800 years ago, nobody remembers half anything.
That's what I said to her, and then maybe even like 200 years. No, I would say it's like seems like 150 years. I believe that most of the people. I know you're from the Northeast. That's where you're born, Northeast. So people who are on the East Coast are very familiar with the Civil War. Everybody else who's from they have no care about the Civil War. They just don't. They have no connection to it one way or the other. And I've seen people from California. It's funny because you'll say certain kinds of things, and people from the Northeast start to get all tensed up. Like I told, I was working in Pennsylvania, and I moved up there, and I had just closed this ag business of mine, this fruit tree business.
Yeah.
And I was talking to this guy who lived in the country, like our manager or whatever. And I said, yeah, the business was called Dixie Fruits. And he got really tense about it. Really tense. I was like, what are you so tense
Dixie, how dare you?
Yeah,
Dixie?
exactly. So just by saying the word Dixie, all of a sudden, this guy from like the Northeast is like South Dixie? Yes. But people from like California, you'd say Dixie, and they're like, what's that word? And they have no connection to it. But I mention this because it's like I feel like the youth of today, like my kids, they're just not gonna have this connection to Nazis like people today still have.
Those kids now don't know what we're talking about.
No, and you know, once
20s.
Once these 40-plus-year-olds die off and they get out of politics, I'm very curious to see whether or not people aren't going to be called Nazis and Hitler and all.
Well,
this.
you won't be here, so you won't know.
It's like this. We're at like the zenith period that's so ridiculous that people just cannot stop talking about it. I just think about that because it's like these are the kinds of things where something so evil, so ridiculous, and there's a lot of context there. I'm not going to get into it. So evil, it has perpetrated over all this time across most, but maybe not all of humanity. I don't know if Indians care and say Hitler. But
So I started this whole thing
certainly
saying,
the West.
I started saying this whole thing saying about hypocrisy
Yeah.
when we sat down. And I want to say, to be honest with you, I'm tempted to quit. I'm always tempted to quit. And I thought about quitting, and it just doesn't happen. I'm just not a quitter. And that's probably the reason
That's identity.
I'm still alive.
Persistence is real too.
Anyway,
Any final words, John?
don't quit.
Don't quit. We'll see you next week.
Next time.
Let's see. Let's see if I can do all these skills again. Blacked out. There it goes.